Hi, this is Greg Norris with QuickDraw Fund Control. Welcome to our second webinar, which is entitled In the Trenches, Hear from Construction Giants. We're going to talk today about how to build in today's market. It's a pleasure and an honor to have our esteemed guests here. We've got Mr. Herb Gardner, who is the CEO of G3 Urban, and Mr. Buck Cockey, who is the Chief Operating Officer of 2020 Plumbing and Heating and Air Conditioning out of Riverside. Gentlemen, good morning.
Thank you, thank you, Greg.
Really appreciate you joining us today and participating in this webinar. I think there's going to be a lot of good information, good discussion about the change where we are today in 2020. I mean, who would have thought about it? When we started off the year, everything was going really strong, and all changed very quickly. But we'll get into that in just a minute. So, Herb, I'd like to just ask you to tell everybody a little bit about yourself, a little bit about G3 Urban, your history in the building industry, and a little bit to date, so if you would, please.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Herb Gardner. I'm the CEO of G3 Urban. I've been a home builder for, 35 years. I started in Texas as a customer service guy 100 years ago. And just went through the ranks and moved out to California in '89. Started a small company with my brother. And we built like 1,000 homes over 8 years. And then I thought I retired, which lasted a year. I came back to work with the Olson Company. I was the president of home building there. And then after 5 years, we started City Ventures. And one of the founders of that company and ran the president of the home building there 7 years, and then thought I retired again. 3 years ago, I started G3 Urban. Retirement is way overrated. It's fun for about 6 months, and then you realize it's pretty boring. So I went back to work. We started this company. It's just my company, and we just finished our first project. We've got about another 300 lots in the pipeline, 3 projects we're getting ready to start. So we've grown pretty fast, pretty quick. We stayed lean and mean. We'll get into that part of it, but yeah, I've been around a long time.
That's great. Well, I sure know you from your past companies, and it's great to reconnect now.
Yeah.
And G3 is a family shop, correct?
It's a family shop. Yeah, there's 5 family members here.
Great.
Including my daughter's even family, or 6. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even realize there's another family member.
That's wonderful. Well, thanks, Herb.
Sure.
Buck, how you doing today?
We're doing awesome. So sitting here with you. So.
I am very pleased to see you're able to connect to Zoom.
There were no technical difficulties.
That's a good one.
All is good.
Well, tell us about your storied past, buddy.
I've been around a little longer than Herb. I've been in the plumbing and mechanical business probably 44 years and counting. Eventually we'll get to retirement, but I think it's overrated as well.
Yeah.
Started off on the East Coast, just did some more semi-custom type stuff. 1980 migrated out here, just came out here on a whim. Worked for a plumbing contractor that was a specialty plumbing contractor. We did a lot of hospital, a lot of medical, a lot of dental. That was sort of at the time that dialysis centers came into play, or these surgery centers. Mm-hmm. So that was really our niche, our specialty. It was a lot of fun. We did a lot of complicated type projects. Got back into the residential industry probably 1985. Started my own business 86-ish for your dad, for Ira. He was the one that really got me. I didn't start it. He got me in the business. Even when I didn't want to go into business, he got me into business. So that was a great ride. In the recession in '92, sold my business, merged my business into a larger business, RCR Plumbing, RCR Companies. The best thing that ever happened in my life. I was a really good plumber, but there were still things that I had to learn on the business side of the business. They were just invaluable. Had a great run with them through the AMPAM years. Left there, went back into the commercial, into Comfort Systems USA. They're a very large plumbing, and really, it's not even plumbing. They're a mechanical contractor that does plumbing. It's sort of inverted. The bulk of their business is HVAC.
Mm-hmm.
Got to work on just some phenomenal projects with them. Gosh, in that tenure, probably did 40 or 50 high-rise apartment and condominiums in the Mid-Atlantic, Florida, and Texas. I think we did one out here, West Ocean Tower, right across from the Queen Mary. And then was persuaded to really to get back here. I came back to RCR for a short time, just to help them through a difficult time, and then I've migrated my way to dynamic plumbing / 2020 plumbing. So
Great story. Buck, how many employees right now at 2020?
1,186.
Wow.
We have a large footprint. Really work from the Mexican border to Indio, up, I won't say Santa Barbara because I get killed, but say Ventura. And then we've got a facility up in Las Vegas. We actually have three facilities. One here in Riverside where I'm at, that's our home office, our largest office, probably 100,000 square feet on 10 acres. And then we've got another facility in San Marcos that we just opened up. We relocated from an acquisition. We had acquired a company called Sabre Plumbing 2 years ago. They were in Escondido, had outgrown their facility, so we moved. And we have our facility up in Las Vegas. So
Awesome. I think Herb just kind of got blown away by
1,200, that's a lot.
by
yes,
the size
it
there.
is.
And you know what's great
Of adult daycare every day.
Wow.
Well, you know what's great for our listening audience is this, Herb's got an upcoming project he's going to talk about, and this will be the first time that 2020 is going to be providing both the plumbing and the heating and air conditioning on the Gardena project called Rosecrans Place. But thank you guys, appreciate the background, that really helps. And let's talk about today and what's going on. So Herb, I'm going to start with you, and this question is going to go to both you guys, but it's going to be very different. So from the home builder side today, Herb, what's selling?
Well, we were fortunate enough, as I said, I was telling Buck earlier, we were fortunate enough as our first project closed out early in late February. And then the three projects we have in the pipeline are getting ready to start, but there was the gap in between. So this nonsense, this insanity kind of occurred at a decent time for us.
Mm-hmm.
On a more macro level, what I've noticed, I've been through three cycles in 35 years, three housing cycles in 35 years. And in the past, when the urban infill stuff closer to the coast pricing started to get a little insane, everything kind of moved inland.
Mm-hmm.
The affordability line, the concentric circle, it just kind of kept moving inland. And that was always the pattern. And then when you had a reverse part of the cycle, then it would come back over here and then go back out. And what we've noticed in this cycle, I don't know if it's this generation, but it hasn't happened the same way. The urban infill stuff has still stayed, even though the prices have almost doubled in the last 8 years. The demand for the urban infill stuff has stayed very strong, and it didn't creep inward like it did last time. And we kind of came to the conclusion that the commuting mindset has changed, and that people would almost, even though they could get a much bigger home, on a single family lot, it's almost like they'd rather pay the same price for a 3-story townhome that they don't have to sit on a freeway for 45 minutes or an hour every day, both ways. So I don't know if it's a generational issue or whatever it is. So what I see selling today is urban infill, and that's why I'm sticking in that world. It just seems to be more in demand now. And all the projects we have, I'm staying in a little box. I'm not going to go outside and go hundreds of miles in all directions. I'm going to stay in the world that we understand. And for the last 15 years, it's been urban infill.
And your current project called Rosecrans Place, that's located where?
It's in Gardena. It's 113 units. It's a mixture of single-family homes and townhomes, and we have some live work. That's another interesting aspect of, I think, what the pandemic has helped create is live work was always kind of a stepchild product type in that no one really understood it and no one really utilized it in the way that it was intended. And with everyone now, not everyone, but with the home work thing being something that we kind of understand now, or that we're kind of adjusting to, we're feeling like live work is going to be something that actually becomes a more in-demand product.
Mm-hmm.
In that if you can work from home and they're willing to pay you to work at home, well, then get that home office and utilize it in the way that it was intended. So where before it was a little, lenders didn't understand it, buyers didn't really understand it. Cities, even though they promoted it, didn't really understand what it meant. So I think that's going to change.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see some more of that. So we do have some live work and roast claims in place
That's
too.
great. Thanks, Herb.
Sure.
Buck, what is selling for you as a subcontractor? Check, just confirming that the majority of your clients are the home builders, and a lot of them are both the medium and large size builders, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so
we're seeing similar conditions like Herb just described. I'll go back to your first question. Probably 50% of our business is single family type business. The other 50%, is multifamily, condominium apartment, for rent or for sale type product. Single family guys, the upper end of the market seems to have subsided. They seem to be pulling back from that. There seems to be less demand. And that was still going strong prior to COVID. But the rest of it, the entry level or the first move up, even the second move up type, we've really just hit a dip. Herb and I were speaking before we got on this call just about the increase in activity that we're seeing. April was kind of a dead month for us. May showed signs of this thing coming back to life, and we really think by the time we get back to August, September, it's going to be almost like it was back in 2017, 2018. On the multifamily side, we're seeing a lot of live work. It's more of an urban. It's not so much infill types, type projects. A lot of retail. We might do a job that's got 3 stories of garage, 2 floors of retail, and then units up on top of that. So I think that's more driven by the millennials. We saw that in my Comfort Systems USA days when we did those high-rise apartment and condominium, the same type of product. So.
Really?
So guys, it's a valuable partnership between builder and subcontractor. And I'm so excited for you guys to be working together. Talk to me about what you're seeing today with construction costs. Since March 16th, since COVID hit, what's happened? Herb, you want to take this to start?
Sure. I'm going to tell a little story going back 50 years or however long. I can remember being in college the first day, 19 and stupid, and I was an economics major. And the first professor I had in Econ 101, we walked in and he said, any economic or pricing question can be answered with supply and demand. And I remember being 19 and stupid and thinking, what is he, that doesn't even make any sense. Where did he come up with that? Here it is 40 years later, and he couldn't have been more correct. So in terms of construction costs, I tell that little story because when you relate it to supply and demand for the longest time through the last 6 or 7 years, maybe 10 years, the demand for subcontractors and consultants and materials has outweighed the supply. There's not a lot of companies like Buck's that can handle the kind of production or handle the kind of scheduling that a production builder requires. There's just not that many. So the supply, especially in the last 10 years, the direct cost of a home, sticks and bricks, has doubled in the last 7 years. And it's not like, there was a lack of it was just the demand for the subcontract, the demand for the materials was such that prices went up, supply and demand. Now, when the pandemic hit, if you had asked me this question 45 days ago, I would have said, I think we're going to see a pretty severe drop because companies are going to adapt. Companies are going to either get rid of people or downsize. And this is what I was telling Buck earlier. It's not always necessarily bad that there's a reset button that you hit in times like this to where everybody gets lean, everybody gets a little more risk averse, everybody gets a little smarter in their businesses. So early on, we thought we'd see a serious drop. In fact, if you look at the price of lumber, which when this first hit, it just plummeted. Mm-hmm. In the last month, it's just come right back up. So I answer that question differently than I would 45 days ago because I thought, we all thought the movement was going to be in a downward trend because people were just going to get leaner and the demand for subcontractors would actually lessen and the supply would not have dropped as much. So you have a pricing change to the benefit. Now, there was also the fear that the revenues were going to drop. Mm-hmm. So you have both of those things going on. So, to answer your question, which is where I see them today, like I said, I think you're going to see in the next 4 months, hopefully, that we're back to where we were 4 months before. It almost seems like the effect of this pandemic has already changed in home building.
Yeah. Well, four months before, the market was red hot, Herb. You think there's a possibility?
It's red hot right now. Yeah. It's red hot right now. If you look at some of the stats, it's fairly red hot right now. That's why we literally, the third question you're going to ask me, we thought we were going to end up having to slow down, mm-hmm. go a little bit less rambunctious because either sales were going to be down or prices were going to be down. And we kind of wanted to make sure that we avoided some of the risk as we move forward with the projects. But now it's almost reversed, like, holy cow, we got to get these things going. We got to get these going. The market is, I don't know, it's called red hot, but it's certainly come back to normal sales rates. And we haven't seen any revenue or price adjustments either.
Well, that's really encouraging.
Yeah. So it is encouraging. And now we're hoping that Buck's going to help us by, help with his pricing. But I doubt that's going to happen. So I don't know. Where do I see the movement? I don't see it really changing much.
Okay.
Where we thought it was going to change a lot, it went back to I don't know that it's going to change as much. Now, some of the companies, that resized and adapted pretty quickly may stay that way. Mm-hmm. They may bring everybody back on because they find out that, wow, with less people, I actually make more money doing less work. But I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, thanks. Now, Buck, from a plumbing and heating and air subcontractor side, you have to source significant raw materials, fixtures, finish, all kinds of rough. There are a significant number of components that go into both the plumbing and heating and air conditioning system. What has happened to those costs in the past 3 months?
Our costs are still flat. To Herb's point about supply and demand, when we first hit the COVID, we were really worried about supply. A lot of our materials come from overseas. We were preparing our customers for potential lack of supply, so to speak, or delays in material. Conversely, we got with our vendors. We met with all of those a couple times a week, 2-3 times a week. We would have calls with them. Where are we at with this particular product? Do you guys see anything out there, any shift? We purchased just a minimal amount of materials, I think, in the overall big scheme of things. We heard that like pressure regulators or the brass type products, pressure regulators, valves, might go in short supply. We brought in a 3-month supply, 4-month supply of that. But overall, like the fixtures, the faucets, the sinks, the plumbing fixtures, we haven't seen anything delay in supply, and pricing is just static.
Okay. So
Didn't move up, didn't down. We made some attempts to try and get it down, and we were unsuccessful, although our pricing is pretty good. We cut our deals at the beginning of the year, so we were happy with that. The real wild card in this equation is manpower for us, not so much the material. We've got enough size to us, and we've got enough buying power, that we would have been in pretty good shape. Had we had to go out in front and buy 3 or 4 months of material, we would have. Our manufacturers, suppliers would have worked with us, stockpiled it up. But, material was probably labors are the big wild card, especially on the way up. To Herb's point, we use it as an opportunity. We probably downsized 60, we probably laid off 60 guys in the field, but that was getting close to the bottom anyway. Mm-hmm. And we're already seeing the efficiency of that. There was a handful of good talent that became available in the market. Mm-hmm. Plumbing foremen, project managers. We've got 3 project managers that were, that was a real blessing. We were looking for project managers, and these folks had been laid off, and they've really worked out well for us. We're still trying to capitalize. I just had a conversation with Dan, our multifamily plumbing general manager, this morning, and about even as we see this market starting to change and go back the other way, boy, we probably have another month or 2 to capitalize on any good labor that may or may not be available out there.
Sure.
Again, by the time we get to August, September, October, we're right back in the same situation. Although we'd rather have that than the alternative.
Absolutely. Well, that's great, and that's really good information, guys. Interestingly, I was talking with a builder client who's got a track production project up in the Sacramento region, the greater Sacramento area, and he said for the first time they've got a delay on cabinets. Cabinets went from 4 weeks to 8 weeks. And it's really a function of the production line and production of the impact of COVID and social distancing. Was talking to another friend who works on the wholesale hardware side. Companies like Dixie Line and some of the paint manufacturers are their partners. And his take is that the production facilities, the manufacturing side on the supply chain is running about 30 to 40% of efficiency due to the social distancing. So, hopefully we don't see that lag effect, but it's being talked about it in the industry right now. And we're seeing just the initial small bumps, and be interesting to see how that plays out. Hopefully it can smooth out and there's ways through it, but something to keep in mind.
We had some issues originally out there, with the social distancing out on the job sites. Our customers, the contractors, they just did an excellent job of working with the subcontractor base, to get through that. The city of Irvine, they wouldn't perform inspections, but, we went, we were using the internet. A couple of them projects were using drones, but, to a virtual type inspection type system. Yeah. We might see that just continue. That might not go away because I think that provided, efficiency for them. So, I think there'll be some, we had some challenges in there, but I think there's a lot of good that came out of it too.
Oh, there is. I was talking with a really good builder as well, and asking if the One Trade, One House platform had a real impact on his schedule. And he said, really, at the end of the day, it was minimal. This gentleman started taking temperatures of guys every day before they even got on site. Everybody got a sticker. And that put everybody at a comfort level and allowed them to work a little bit closer, and productivity rose as fear dropped. It's a new normal, and I think everybody is adjusting and adapting, and some are doing it better than others. But it doesn't seem to be as big of a concern today as it was back in March.
Agreed.
Yeah. So, guys, what I like to ask this question. We had another webinar, and I think you probably alluded to it a little bit. In addition to, getting rid of, or not getting rid of, just resizing your company, making sure you've got the best employees possible on the team. What positive aspects of COVID-19 have you seen affect your business? Is there anything else?
Let's see, how can I answer that? I think Buck alluded to it earlier. When you just did too, that the adapting and the reconfiguring how you do business, as scary as it is in the beginning, sometimes in the end, it's like the inspection thing. It turns out to be, wow, this actually works better.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are finding out that working at home is not as crazy as it sounded because we've never done that before.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's almost like change was forced upon us. And like you said, some adapt, some figure it out, some get better, and some can't figure it out, and they're just going to go away, or they're not going to be able to figure it out. So it's much bad. I mean, people getting sick obviously is not good.
Right.
But I think a lot of the changes that we're seeing are going to stick. And we're not going to go back to the way that it was. And it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah. Buck, any thoughts?
No, I couldn't agree more with her. We were forced into this, to adapt. I mean, it was an immediate, COVID happened immediately and then change happened immediately thereafter. So we were all, we'd come in here and be just gassed by the end of the day, just trying to react to it all. But I think the inspections, our efficiencies, I think they'll benefit the market. And I still think there's some change still to come.
Mm-hmm.
As we sort of all taken a deep breath, we're not being so reactive anymore, but still we can look back. Who knows what's out in front of us. I hate to think that that this winter may have, the flu might come back, or something else would happen. But so I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, even the city councils, when this first happened and we were going through entitlements, which is a brain damaging effort to begin with. But when they were like, well, we can't have any more council meetings, we can't have any more meetings. And you're like, well, what does this mean to you? Is entitled lots, does that go away? Or are we never going to get any more entitled lots? Well, they figured out the Zoom thing and they figured out how to do these virtual meetings, and they become really efficient at them. And, you may not have to go back to the giant council meeting where everyone sits in a room and has to do this. And it just seemed a lot efficient. That's the word we keep popping up because it just seems like that's the word that this does, is you eliminate the waste, or you eliminate the unnecessary things that were just a natural part of it that now aren't necessarily, everyone's realized we didn't need it.
Yeah. Yep.
We didn't need it.
We've seen that in just in our own
every day.
business.
Go ahead, Buck.
Go ahead. Sorry about that.
You're up, Buck.
No, I said we've seen that just within our own business. I mean, we're a larger business. We're spread out. We have, multi-locations, multi-site. We do any number of meetings, and that's been one. We were actually had a meeting the other day. It was 15 of us, the general managers, really the executive team, and where we would normally meet. And I tossed it out there going, well, okay, we're getting up in July. Maybe we've got a big enough training room where we have our meetings. Maybe we'll get this thing going back together, and we'll just all meet up. And they said, gosh, these have been really efficient meetings.
Yeah.
The vote was, let's just keep it the way that that we are.
Yeah.
I was surprised.
I don't know that the airlines and the
still
hotel.
had enough interaction. You know what I mean?
I know that the airlines and the hotel businesses are excited about it, but not even having to have everybody go to one place to have a meeting. But from a macroeconomic basis, it's just way more efficient.
So let's
a function of time.
Yeah.
Because time is so precious today.
Sure. So Herb, let's talk about this behavioral change and this shift in how we work. How does it translate to selling houses? How does it translate to your buyers selecting options and upgrades so that you can maximize profitability?
Oh, I think that's still a work in progress. It's funny. I don't remember who I was talking to, and they were saying that, oh my gosh, have you seen how bad home sales have become in April or whenever it was? And I was like, well, no one's allowed to leave their home. I mean, you still have to go somewhere to buy a home. You you know, if you, or you're not going to shop for a home without being able to leave your home. So I don't know that it was that big of a shock that sales plummeted, but then people were allowed to start coming back out, it went back. But builders had adjusted to virtual appointments and virtual reality being available for people to see what the plans look like without having to actually go to them. So I still think that's a work in progress. And we think about that every day. How are we going to market this next project differently than we did before based on what's happening? And I don't know that I have all the answers yet. I can tell you that virtual reality is absolutely a part of it. I mean, that's the technology side of that world has become so advanced that it literally almost is like you are in that unit. And you can see spec level, and you can see views, you can see how the landscape's going to come in. There's just so many things you can do now that the old school way of, you know, you have to call us and then you have to make an appointment, come out, and then we give you all the information. These days, you provide the information on your website.
Yeah.
People absorb all that information on their own, and then they make a decision to come out, as opposed to before we hid all the information. You know, we had it here, and you had to come to us to get it.
Are the traditional grand openings still going on? Like where you blast it out, get as many people to the model complex and open the doors?
I don't think that, you know, that builders are old school people too. It's sometimes we're some of the hardest heads to change things. And that's still a thing. I don't see that changing.
Yeah.
What
about you, Buck? How are you, or is there anything different now in the past few months on how you're interacting with your clients, how you're trying to maximize profitability for both sides?
No, it's still, we're using a lot of technology. You know, I mean, even to this day, our office it's only open to the employees. We've embraced technology. We've been embracing technology for a while, you know, so that helped us, you know, with this COVID, you know, at least where we weren't able to do the face-to-face or have the interaction, you know what I mean? But, and that was all the way down to the foreman level in the field. So, you know, we continue to, like Herb said, I mean, we continue to embrace technology. We think there's a lot of value, a lot of gain there, a lot of efficiency. I'll give you just a stat on the home building side, you know, just from afar. Our Las Vegas office, we get good data out of there. For the months of January and February, they had sold, I think, anywhere about 1,100 new homes a month. Okay, and they had been up on that plateau for a while. March was 850 plus 856, and then we had COVID. You know, then it really hunkered down in April. There were less than 50 home sales in the month of April.
Wow.
In the month of May, they're in excess of 650 sales. And you got to believe that the bulk of them, because Vegas didn't open up till just before Memorial Day weekend. You know, so the bulk of that was virtual, or where builders went out and, you know, embraced technology, and they've just figured it out. And that goes back to what we've been talking about. You know, the successful folks are going to just figure it out and work through it. We're going to fall down, but you know what I mean? We're going to work our way out of it.
Yeah, I think when you talked about one of the positive aspects of the COVID thing is that I think people were in their homes, you know, for 2 to 3 months. And if you're a renter and you're living in a tiny apartment and you were in that thing, you kind of got the idea that, wow, this is inadequate. It's older. I'm not as productive as I could be. So when this comes out of here, I got to change the way I live. I got to either become a homeowner, or I got to get something bigger, or get something that's more modern that can adapt to the technology of working at home. So the more people spend in their, what I'll call less than desirable situations, helps a new home builder. I think in the long run. I mean, especially in the urban infill area, and I'm looking out around at Gardena right here, you know, your choices are really something new that's just now being built, or something that was built in the 50s and 60s. That's 2-bedroom, 1 bath that wasn't built with air conditioning. Really the only 2 choices in a lot of the infill markets.
Yeah.
And I think when people, the more they were at home in some of those less desirable situations, it dawned on it. Wow, now's the time. I gotta make a move.
Yeah.
I've got to upgrade the situation I live in to adapt to the new world that was created by this pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And the economy's right. The interest rates are right for that kind of change.
Yeah.
Where rates are today, they're not going to be here. This is as low as they'll be. So.
Yeah. Of course, we've been saying that for like 6 years, but thank God the government just keeps them low. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't see those going anywhere for a while until we get back to normal, and which completely helps our world.
Whatever the new normal looks like.
Yeah.
Guys, let's talk about finance and money for a minute. Herb, obviously you've got long-standing relationships with construction lenders. Have you seen any small, medium, large change in the short term? As far as
we've been really lucky to work with a great bank, and that was one of the questions that you said you were going to talk about was, did I see any significant change in the business? And we were right sized, so I wasn't really worried about the company, but it was the fear of not knowing, what are the banks going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Are they just going to freeze up? What are home prices going to do? We had experts telling us, oh, they're going to drop 40%. Oh, they're not going to move at all. What about, like Buck talked about, what about supplies from overseas? We can't get supplies. Oh, it's going to get worse. So there was this fear that the numbers that you had together weren't going to work anymore. The revenue numbers, the cost numbers, everything was going to change. So fear became the significant change in my business. And bank was one of them. Mm-hmm. And they never, you work with Citizens Business Bank, they never faltered one bit. They were positive on the future of the market. They were positive on us as a builder. We just had a successful project with them. So we're very lucky to have a bank that wasn't afraid of this. And literally nothing changed. I mean, the loan's been made, and we're moving, and we're really lucky to have them. Same with our equity investor, who I won't mention his name, but they never faltered either. They just stuck with the projects that we had in the pipeline. It didn't change anything. There was 100 Zoom meetings about where do we think things are going to go. Mm-hmm. So that fear played into a risk-averse type mentality. Let's be more careful here. Let's not start 25-unit phases. Let's not be real aggressive. And fortunately, the current market has changed that mindset again. But no one that was involved ever changed their mindset that what we were going to do was going to be successful.
That's great.
That is great.
Yeah, you bet.
I didn't want to have to retire a third time.
For 6 months.
6 months, yeah.
So, Buck, on your side, how's accounts receivable looking? And have you seen any change in terms from your suppliers and what they require?
No, we've seen no change in terms from what our suppliers, require. We've got a great relationship with them. We take advantage of our discount side. We've got good relationships with them. I'll say our suppliers love us. We pay our bills. Most of our receivable has been well. Our customers have done really good. At the beginning, there was sort of a hiccup as folks, tried to run. These larger home builders are running their businesses from their employees' homes, so to speak. But, getting into their network, that was probably the biggest thing. But we had a handful. We had a couple a couple customers that had faulted, but they worked their way out of it. We work with them. You know what I mean? It was just, we haven't had anything catastrophic, let's put it that way. And we don't see this going forward. I mean, we really do see ourselves coming back out and then getting to more normal, we'll call it the new normal, but a more normal way of doing business. So, so we've not seen anything structurally, with our AR or anything like that.
Well, that must be as a result of QuickDraw processing all your invoices you submit on your draw request, Buck.
Wow.
Yeah. Listen to that. What an ad.
Well, it took 39 minutes to get a plug in there, but you got it in there.
Yeah, So speaking of plugs, let's talk about...
I'll talk about my hair.
Or mine.
That's good, Doug. Yeah, we got two cities right here.
Yeah.
Herb, let's tell everybody about your upcoming project, Rosecrans Place. How many floor plans? What is the anticipated price point for major cross streets?
It's at Rosecrans and Van Ness in Gardena. As I said before, it's 113 units. We've got 41 single family, anywhere from 1,800 to 2,500. And then we've got townhomes from 1,600 to 1,900. And then we got some live works that are about 2,000. Now, what's going to be interesting, and you don't even know about this yet, but the project that we're entitling, it's about 200 yards away from there. We're going to be smaller townhomes. So they're going to be from 1,200 up to 1,800. So what we're really doing is going from 1,200 square foot townhomes to 2,500 single family and everything in between. The idea being behind, no matter who you are or what you want, we got it. Anywhere from $499 to $799.
That's great.
Yeah. So the first time home buyer, going back to when I used to go up to watch your dad's project, the first time home buyer never goes away. Mm-hmm. That's if you can get into that price range with the right product in the right location, it's always a home run.
Yeah,
it's always a home run. So we wanted to cover the whole market with this. It's really two projects, but it's really one project. So this one's 53. So that's a total of 166 right there in Gardena, a couple hundred yards from each other. So as long as Buck gives us good pricing there, I think we'll be able to come out of there and sell well.
I think we'll be in good shape.
There we go. There
you
So
go.
we started the site work already. So homes will start September, October, with the first closings being next April. And then, if we can do the 3 to 4 sales a month thing, it's going to be a great couple of years.
Hey, one a week is a good number.
One a week is a lovely number.
Yeah. Buck, let's talk about 2020. So obviously, we know what you do. We know where you do it. How can everybody get a hold of you and talk to your team about their projects?
Yeah, I mean, we're very accessible. One of the things I didn't say is that 3 years ago, we became an employee-owned company. We're an ESOP. Mm-hmm. Our owner retired, Tom Baker. He's living the dream right now. We'll see if he stays retired.
He'll come back.
Yeah, we'll see if he gets edgy. But yeah, I mean, we might have 11, we might have almost 1,200 employees, but we still are a really tight group, small feel. It's just, we've got a small management team. Probably 400 or 500 of us have worked together for 20 or 30 years. So, I mean, it's just been a long tenure. Yeah. We want to keep it that way. It's just a tight group. So yeah, I mean, so we're real, all of us are very acceptable. We've got myself, Mike Mahoney, our CEO and CFO, and then the 5 general managers. That's really, not our sales folks, but, we all are, very involved in our customers, projects.
Sure.
So.
That's great. Well, guys, I know we alluded to it a little bit, but just want to talk about, even if we got to reiterate, Q3 and Q4 2020. And then maybe let's talk about how that rolls into 21. What do you think?
Well, the note that I wrote down was hopefully a return to normalcy. Mm-hmm. But I think what we're saying today is that it might be a new normal, or it might be a different normal. But if we can get back to just being able to sell and build homes, I think that's what we're hoping for. I think being able to adapt quicker to whatever shows up, stop thinking that, the last 35 years in the way of doing business is going to continue the same way. you know, the quicker you adapt, the quicker you adjust, you know, the more successful you're going to be. And I think this pandemic has certainly proven that. I mean, we're moving forward with the projects like we're already back into a new normal. It feels like we're back into, not a new normal, it feels like we're back into normal. Clearly we're not normal in what we were like 60 days ago, but it feels a lot less scary. It feels less unknown.
So building, ramping up, and ready to come out shooting in 2021.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Absolutely, yeah, we're going to be selling homes in September.
Buck, you've got Southern California, like you said, all of SoCal. You got Vegas. What do you see for the rest of the year and then into the first quarter of 2021?
We're definitely bullish on the fourth quarter. You know, the second quarter was a wipeout. Not even a wipeout, but I mean, that was, you know, the bottom. But we really see things picking up August, September, you know, and then just not stopping. I mean, you think back about it, you know, so this was an economic correction that was really triggered by a pandemic, and we've never seen anything like that in our lifetime. But before all that happened, there was just this huge demand, this pent-up demand, and it didn't go away. You know, the pandemic just didn't make it go poof and just disappear. That demand is still there. Just look at all the economic indicators out there. It's there. And that's what I think we're starting to see now that folks are getting back out. There's just this demand. I mean, just look at the unemployment numbers. That was a huge surprise to all of us. And so that's what we see. You know, our backlogs continue to grow. Our sales numbers are getting almost back to normal. So we're good things ahead. But, you know, it'll be a new normal too. We still don't know what all that looks like, but
sure.
We'll get through that. We'll adapt.
To add one more comment, Greg, you know, when I talk about supply and demand, you can tell I talk a lot about supply and demand, but we've been undersupplying homes in California for 40 years. You know, the number of new households that get created, we've never built the homes to even satisfy that new household growth for 40 years. So like Buck says, that didn't go anywhere. It's still the same way. If anything, it got a little bit worse there for a couple of months where we couldn't build anything and people couldn't buy anything. So that didn't go anywhere. And that's what makes Q3 and Q4 and going into next year's not as scary and even more exciting because that's still there. Yeah. That hasn't gone anywhere. And it's like getting entitled lots is still not the easiest thing in the world to do, and it takes a long time. So if you've got entitled lots and you put the right product on it at the right price, the demand is there. Yeah. It's always going to be there. Just, you know, unless
I don't disagree with you guys. You know, if the stock market is truly a leading indicator, I mean, look how quickly that recovered. Clearly there'll be some bumps along the way, but I mean, gosh, it was down 17, 18,000 and we're at 26 now and
incredible.
What seems like, you know, a half an hour. And on our side, even recently echoes what you said. We just are having good calls with construction lenders, with projects, and looking for services. And that's, you know, wonderful. It's absolutely great and a little bit unexpected, but you know what? We'll take it.
Sure.
And we're excited about the rest of the second half of this year and into 2021 as well. So, well, guys, I really can't thank you enough for your time, your insights. So glad you guys got to meet together. And Herb, I would definitely squeeze Buck on his pricing.
Oh, he have no idea. He has no idea what's coming.
I look forward to working with you guys on this project. I look forward to seeing you guys work together. I know together you can help each other make some money and do great things together. So with that, gentlemen, thank you again for your time. Have a great day, great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you. Great
Nice
meeting you, Herb.
Great meeting you.
See you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.